A skipped storyline during the events of Season 3 involves Mark completely losing his temper when he finds out his old girlfriend Amber is getting abused. The story starts with Mark waking up from an eventful night with Eve, and as they get out of bed, they're interrupted by Oliver knocking for Mark. Eve panics as she doesn't want to be seen, but it's too late, and Mark tells him not to tell their mother. Invincible answers the phone as he looks for his suit and decides not to tell Eve and Oliver what the call was about as he gets changed. Oliver is upset he doesn't get any training, and Mark flies off, followed by Eve, but she gets spotted by Debbie. Mark comes in through the window to see an Amber clutching on a pillow and asks if she's okay. She explains that her life's been really hard recently as her father passed away, and she thought about calling Mark, but it would have been awkward, especially since she had been dating Gary and has him to confide in. But he has his own problems. Mark says she should have called and he feels terrible, but she reassures him that Gary was supportive and that he's a great guy, but it's just that he gets angry sometimes. And she doesn't know who else to talk to about it. She looks over to Mark, tears rolling down, bruised and beaten whilst saying that he didn't mean it. Mark's face is filled with rage. Where is he? Where? Meanwhile, Oliver is on his own adventure and runs into a guy trapped in a suit and says he needs someone powerful to get him out. The issue cuts to Mark dangling Gary off a rooftop with blood-red clouds in the back. Invincible tells him to never hurt her again, and that even though he's out of her life, he still cares a great deal about her. Gary apologizes, saying he didn't mean to, and that he loves her, but just doesn't know what happened. You hurt her again? I'll know about it, and I will kill you. Mark tosses him aside and flies off, whilst Gary calls someone to pick him up. Oliver is still fighting this giant robot thingy, but it complains that he's not strong enough, and Oliver says he's trying to help, whilst Mark arrives home to look for Eve. But Debbie tells him Oliver's in some trouble, and Mark flies off. Invincible knocks the robot out in one swoop, whilst Oliver tells him he had the situation handled, but Mark gets frustrated looking at the damage around and tells him they'll talk later. Later, Mark goes to see Amber again, who seems more uplifted. She tells Mark that he doesn't need to do anything to Gary since everything's okay now. She tells him that Gary called her all out of breath and was very upset over the situation, while saying that he's actually a good guy and that it was a one-time thing. Amber says she'll give him another chance and thanks Mark for being there for her. He asks if she's sure, but with a smile on her face, she tells him not to worry and that everything's going to be okay. She hugs Mark. Back at Eve's home, he lands in the bush and quickly gets changed. He has quick, awkward exchange with her mother, who tells Mark that Eve is actually her middle name and she should be called Samantha. He's led inside, then tells Eve he was with Amber. He tells her that it was Amber who called in the morning to talk about her abusive boyfriend, and he didn't think, but just reacted. He reveals that he wanted to kill the guy, but only threatened him. He worries about his temperament. He explains how her eye was swollen, and Eve comforts him, saying that he shouldn't beat himself up and that she'd want to hurt him too. He glances at his hands and worries about his control over his power and how Oliver is reckless. But Eve tells him he's young and that Mark can help him. They cuddle up in bed as the story ends here. Why do we think this storyline was cut from the show? Would you have wanted this? Let me know in the comments. And yes, Amber is very different in the show.